Work hard, be yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Welcome to The Creator's Journey. I'm your host, Charles Gupton. In each show, I'll talk with creative leaders who face the same fears and obstacles we all face. What makes these folks effective are the processes they've developed that allow them to push through the darkness to consistently ship their work and make a difference. If you've ever felt that your fears and insecurities are getting the best of you, just know that you're not alone. Every creator who works from the heart faces the same challenges. I would love for you to join our community at thecreatorsjourney.com for ideas and inspiration that will bring light and direction to your journey.
Here's the key to my front door. Got a pillow if you lost yours. You got a seat at my table. You got a home. Here's somebody who believes you. Let truth remind you. You've always got a place to go to. You got a home.
My conversation today is with Vanessa Fortier. For the past 5 years, Vanessa has been a creative director with the Martin Agency based in Richmond, Virginia, and has overseen award-winning advertising campaigns for Benjamin Moore Paints and Walmart. Before coming to Martin, Vanessa worked for 10 years at Saatchi Saatchi New York as creative director, primarily on global accounts for Olay, Iams, and Eukenuba. Vanessa landed her first job out of school at Leo Burnett Chicago, where she cut her teeth on McDonald's, Kellogg's, P&G, and Hallmark. As a wife and mother of 2 girls, Vanessa keeps a variety of balls in the air as she juggles the mix of home and office priorities that many leaders do. Vanessa, welcome to The Creator's Journey.
Thank you for having me, Charles.
With the number of responsibilities you carry, I really appreciate that you carved out a space for us to chat today.
Well, thank you for postponing it, because I know last week when we were previously scheduled to do this, I had a lot going on, and thanks for being flexible.
Let's start out with work and parenting. After many years of criticism that women who are parents can't lead effectively because they're too distracted,
right,
many people are realizing that the skills sharpened in the home as a parent, especially for women, are particularly well suited in the workplace. Well, especially when it comes to managing people, resources, and juggling multiple projects. What's been your experience in that capacity?
You know, all I can say is that when I came back to work after maternity leave, after Chloe, our first, I found myself to be extremely more efficient. I had to get work done. I had a nanny to relieve at 6:30. I found that just my creative juices just were functioning on all cylinders, and and you know, people around here say, if you want to get something done, give it to a working mom. And it's not as if you leave the office, obviously, and you don't continue working. You know, that internet machine is a blessing and a curse, obviously, because you go home and you get to get the kids down, and then you can, just pick up where you left off.
It keeps us plugged in.
It definitely does.
So what do you do to keep a happier, healthier home life when you're super nutty busy? How do you blend your life in those ways?
Yeah, it's a daily challenge. Like I said, the work-life balance sort of died when the iPhone happened. But at the same time, I think there's never been a better time to juggle work and care for your family simultaneously. I think creative types especially need that mix. I think it makes us better creatives. Otherwise, I think the well dries up and we make a lot of derivative crap, for lack of a better word.
That's probably a good word for it. Well, in an earlier conversation, you mentioned having sucked in school until a light bulb went off in your junior year, and you finally got it. Tell me the story about the epiphany that happened there and how it changed your life or your focus.
Yeah. I mean, academically, I've been a relatively good student, but as far as creativity goes and advertising goes, I was very lucky in that I sort of picked the school I wanted to go to first before even knowing that they had a creative sequence and an awesome school for advertising. I got the application and I remember going through the alphabetical order and, got to advertising and just, that's it. I really wasn't sure what I was going to major in. And I got to advertising and that was the first light bulb. So, okay, I'm going to go to University of Texas. I'm going to major in advertising. Kind of in hindsight, it's probably good I didn't get to art because I might've gone the art route and be a starving artist, but who knows? I can bring that artistry to advertising and combine the business and art worlds. But anyhow, so I go to the University of Texas and you take the introduction to creativity. There's like over 300 people in this class. And you're really it's textbook academic, awesome teacher, Deborah Morrison. And then, that's when you determine whether you want to do the creative sequence or some people decide, I'm going to do the more business account director side. And some people decide that it's just not for them at all. But I desperately wanted to go into advertising and took portfolio one, I think it was called. And this is when you actually start making stuff and you start doing hand letter type and you just start to think conceptually. And that was the other great thing about University of Texas, that you didn't necessarily, you weren't necessarily pegged a copywriter or an art director. You had to do both. It was really about coming up with ideas. And in this portfolio one, it's brutal. It's definitely a weed out class. I'd say there's about 30 students in this particular class. There are multiple classes, but in my class there were about 30 students. And the day consisted of, you'd get an assignment. A lot of times you had 2 days maybe to work on it, and you come in and you hang up your scribbles and your bad headlines, and Deborah would go around the room and basically slaughter everything. And I just remember one time there was an assignment for Compound W, and I did a lot of bad pun headlines at that time. And I did a headline that said, it was for a billboard. It said, you've been toad about warts, and drew this big, ugly toad. And that was what my professor called a groaner. He had this scale, this chart on the wall, and I think the bottom was a groaner, and the middle was like a so what, and then the top was something like, damn, I wish I would have done that. And so you definitely wanted to rate high. And there were a lot of groaners until, again, just finally, I used to just go to the Fine Arts Library and just absorb all the award annuals and just pour over Japanese advertising, just trying to expand my mind. And again, it just suddenly felt like, oh, I can be a storyteller with advertising. I don't have to write headlines like all the bad advertising you see out there, like 95% of the bad headlines. So there was something that clicked, and went on to portfolio two, still kind of the quiet girl in the corner, putting her work on the wall, some hits, some misses. And I think in the end, there's about 12 students that graduate from that sequence. It's definitely a brutal weed out class. People bomb, people fail. And I think one of the best days of my life is when my professor said if there was one student's book she would choose to be hers, it would be mine. So it was just kind of a
wow.
That was just fantastic. Again, yeah, I sucked until I didn't.
Yeah, that's fascinating because a lot of people are so afraid of sucking that they're not willing to make the effort. And from all that I read and hear from not only kind of motivational speakers, but in doing this process, I've talked with a lot of creative leaders that talk about that sucking process and how important it is to be willing to ship bad work, or at least initiate bad work, to get to great work.
Yeah.
And so if you...
don't get me wrong, I still suck, but at least I keep it to myself. And it's those first few pages in your notebook that you wouldn't show to anyone, getting all the junk out before. You just got to keep pushing. And, it's self-censorship of ideas. And you know, good idea when it hits you. And it does. It just feels like lightning. It just does. You get an idea, and it's the kind of idea that you can't keep to yourself anymore. And you want to spread it and get some momentum behind it and actually see it come to life. But there's a lot of, sucking still that goes on, but you know how to filter it out.
The editing process.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, again, the willingness to do that and the safe environment within a creative environment it seems important to be able to put sucky stuff or whatever out there. I mean, for instance, as you were talking about puns, again, I've read that pun making is evidence of brilliance and very high level associative thinking, but the willingness to dish those out in public has to either be a reflection of one's confidence, but more likely an environment that people feel safe in to be able to create that high level thinking and let the world laugh at it or laugh at you. So there's some evidence there that you were willing to do that and still are.
Yeah, I take the work seriously, but I try not to take myself too seriously in the process. Yeah, that's important.
That's a pretty important part of the process. Well, in layman's terms, how do you define what you do every day to people who are not familiar with the advertising business?
Yeah.
And especially what a creative director does.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things I love about my job is it's so varied one day to the next and one assignment to the next. And, you know, the evolving media and technology, all the opportunities to create work that resonates with people and builds the business, obviously. Even though it's a creative industry and it's a creative job, I almost approach it like a working class job. I know this doesn't sound very sexy, but you know, I do feel like I get up every day and go down into the coal mine with a pickaxe and hack away lots of coal, but eventually, hopefully there's a diamond in that assignment or that brief. But it's a lot of hard work. And I think people have a perception, some clients do too, that we just come to work and play ping pong all day and goof off and
well, if that were the case,
drink beer, but it is a lot of discipline and hard work. I do think you have to put that work and time in. There's a lot of meetings, which is always a challenge to endure, especially when you have real assignments and real work to do.
The antithesis of creativity, it seems. Yeah,
exactly. But obviously, when you get to more of a managerial level, that meetings come with the territory. But swim course I took, Janet and Nancy's class, you know, they were awesome coaches and gave me the idea, you know what, put a chunk of time off on your calendar, just block it off. That's your time. Obviously, if there's an important client call that I need to be on, that's one thing. But there are so many meetings that are unnecessary. So really being disciplined about that too, because we creatives just need time to do the loner poet thing and scribble the bad ideas in your notebook and really work with each other and try to brainstorm and come up with solutions to those problems we talk about in the meeting. It's a lot of fun too. I say it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of fun.
And you mentioned Janet and Nancy, and that's Janet Keston and Nancy Vonk, whose company Swim works with women in leadership to provide greater impact. And I'd also interviewed Janet and Nancy for The Creator's Journey. And so we've talked about them in a previous conversation. You said you took a course or worked with them.
Yeah.
What was your experience?
It was fantastic. I think there were about 12 of us creative directors that got to participate in this swim course. It was a 3-day course. And yeah, they were fantastic. And it was equally rewarding just being with my co-creative directors too and going through this process and sharing our experiences. Because even though we work in the same walls, it's so rare that we get to talk to creative director on a different account. We're so busy, and being in this sort of bubble with them and sharing our experiences, and then have Nancy and Janet with their awesome experience and success in the industry sort of help. There's a lot of camaraderie and, we all share we go through the same challenges and issues. And the other aspects of their course were just rewarding, equally as rewarding, were just a lot of, we did, there's something called the Moth, which they brought in people from, I don't know if you heard of the Moth. program in New York about storytelling and improv, and so much of our jobs are about improv.